Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And a lot of weird shit. Roll to seize!
Welcome to Roll to Seize. This is episode 20. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host and Warhammer enthusiast, Andrew Dickinger.
Hello.
Hello, Andrew. We are pretty sore, pretty beat up.
My booty hurts.
Yeah, we're back from LVO, the Las Vegas Open, the basically the Super Bowl of Warhammer 40K tournaments.
Yeah, I think it's the second biggest tournament on the West Coast, Bay Area Open being the biggest.
But yeah, I mean, fun time overall.
It was organized really well. Everything being digital was really cool.
Yeah, it was really neat. They did their pairings through iPads, and when your time came up to find your new table, you'd go online and it would show your table placements on an actual website.
Yeah, because one of the competitors there, I actually ended up playing his brother.
Oh, cool.
The brother of the guy who designed the software that did the Swiss pairing system.
Oh, wow. So he rigged it to play against you.
Of
wow.
course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. We know you're out there, and we know you're a monster. So thanks.
But yeah, I got to see a lot of great armies. Some of the armies were just gorgeous.
And oh my God, the paint jobs. Holy crap. You guys, anybody who was there, who came to LVO and really put their heart in that painting, congrats, guys, because it was amazing. We threw some pictures up on our Instagram, and we'll probably throw up a bunch more because there was just so many.
I mean, gorgeous armies. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know if I could play against that because I don't want to kill it because it looks
I don't want
nice.
to kill that beautiful model. But I will. I'm going to kill it.
I'm going to murder it mercilessly.
Overall, guys, that was our LVO experience. I look forward to it next year. It was my first time, and I believe your first time as well.
Yes, it was.
But recent thing after LVO has come to light, and mostly because of LVO.
Yeah.
And what's come to light is the point cost we're playing at for ITC, is that the right point cost to be playing at?
This has been a largely debated issue over the past, we'll say, week.
Yeah.
We know that Frontline has announced that they're doing a lot of testing at lower point costs to try and speed up games, because apparently there is a large complaint that games weren't finishing.
So we're very interested to see what the results of what they're calling the debate right now.
Yes.
For where the points cost are going to land, because right now they're at 1850. If you don't know, it's the point cost we all agreed to play at for ITC. But now with a great point was brought up online. The internet is great for comments. So many comments the internet has. One that really came up was when we used to play Warhammer back in 4th and 5th edition, the points that we used to play with now are a lot more inflated with the points that we play with today.
Yeah, I mean, 5th edition in general, most units were at least 30 to 40% more expensive.
Yeah.
So an 1850 point army in 5th edition is like a 2,500 point army now.
And hey, kudos to you, Games Workshop, for lowering points so people can fit more models
in
their army, which means buying more models. Clever.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell what the solution is.
It is. And I really look forward to seeing them unpack this over the next several weeks, testing different options. I obviously believe there's going to be a vote of some kind. So I look forward for everybody to turn out for that and put your opinions out there, and let's figure this out, because if it is a problem, we want to improve the community.
Oh, we are all for making the game better.
Yeah. So we look forward to seeing where it goes from there.
Yeah.
But guys, let's get into the show. We always start each of our episodes with our Seasons of the Month. And coming off of LVO, you can bet that Andrew and I have a lot of instances where we screwed up.
The first day did not go well.
When you have that many games, you have that many more opportunities for both of us to screw over ourselves.
So Jay, you get this. You get to go first, man.
I get to go first. Oof. Okay.
Have fun.
There were a lot of things that I made mistakes on at LVO. Just up top, I could do quite a few Seasons of the Month just off of that tournament.
Yeah.
And that comes from playing better players, and that comes from just scurrying around crazily all day, potentially dehydrated, who knows. Regardless, there was one thing that I kept screwing up on that I saw that repeatedly came into my games, that if I had just made this one tweak, I think it really could have helped me and enhanced my chance of winning some of these.
Yeah.
And that would be, I need to learn to embrace reserving my units more. What I mean by that is this. The army I'm running, it's an Eldar army. It uses a lot of ghosts. It uses a ghost formation where you get a Wraith Knight and a bunch of Wraith Guard and Spirit Seer, and they all have battle focus, and there's a lot of cool abilities that go with it. What I pair that with is I pair that with a bunch of Wind Riders, basically Scat Packs, which are jet bikes with scatter lasers on them. I start that formation on the board. The problem with that is half that army really good at taking shots. Wraith Knight, pretty good at taking shots. That guy loves bullets all day.
I mean, well, yeah, he's a bullet sponge.
And my Wraith Guard, they're in Wave Serpents. They're nice and cozy in there. It's warm. There's like a fireplace. Not safe, but hey, you know what? I let them do what they want.
And let's remember, you know, there may have been a huge backlash to Wave Serpents with the new Eldar book, but Wave Serpents are, in my opinion, still the most resilient.
They're still strong. I mean, there's still 12 armor, front and side. They still have Serpent Shield, which, hey guys, I know it doesn't do its crazy shots anymore. It still does some shots.
It's still doing ignore cover shots.
But as a way to, you know, save them, I mean, you've got your Forp Jink with your skimmers, and hey, guess what? Your Serpent still on a 2+ turns penetrating into glancing, which is still great.
Yeah.
To protect your guys inside.
Means the chance of one-shotting them without a D weapon is very slim.
Yeah, so those guys are pretty well protected. Now, my little poor Scat Bikes. It's only 3 guys in each unit.
Space Marines.
And they're Space Marines. They're 3 up saves, 4 toughness, and guess what? A lot of bullets, even bolters, will kill those guys very easily. And the problem is that's a lot of my output in my armies. And the thing is, I would put them in cover. It didn't matter. Guys would mostly drop pod Marines would give me trouble, dropping in, flaming all of my Scat Bikes, shooting them with enough firepower. And essentially by turn 2, almost all of my scatter lasers are gone. Even getting killed by, it is brutal when a bunch of storm bolters on random drop pods are just picking off your entire army. That is real demoralizing. It's like, no!
I believe the first game I went against pod Marines and my Storm Surge died to pod bolters.
That is brutal. But basically these drop pods and guys just eliminated a lot of my firepower, and if I just made one tweak, if I had just pulled a lot of my guys into reserve and had them come on when I needed them after most of my opponent's army was on, because a lot of the guys I was playing were playing with drop pod Marines or some type of reserve deep strike option, then I would have had a chance to, you know, counter strike to their armies after coming in.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially pod Marines, when it's like all pod Marines, it's heavy alpha strike. It's a heavy alpha strike army, and with the reserves that you're talking about is the reserves that a lot of us, I wouldn't say less experienced, but less used to using them players.
And me, I know myself, I'm a little bit more afraid of reserving my army. It's like, I don't have enough firepower turn 1. I don't have everything there.
Yeah, because we get this mentality where if it's not on the board, but it's off the board and it's not deep striking, then it's like, is it gonna be able to do anything? It's a dumb stigmatism that we have.
It is,
but I fully agree that like it changes games. Big deal.
Yeah, and I'm also giving my opponent more targets. And for games I wasn't even going against drop pod Marines, of just other armies, if I have so many things on the board, instead of reserving and putting an army to one side, I'm forcing half of their army to go for one thing instead of having tons of options for them to shoot at, which they have more turns to whittle my army down instead of less turns.
Yeah, exactly.
So, the end of the day, guys, really wish I reserved my army, or at least half of my army, a little bit more often, and that's probably my big C's of the month. So, Andrew, what's your C's?
I'll say day 2 went pretty well for me, but day 1 was a mess. I was very confused by the end of the day because the first game I should have won handedly and I lost terribly. And then the second game I should have lost terribly and I tabled him. And after that, I was just like, I have no idea what's going on.
Okay. So there was a portal in the actual convention center, at least to a bizarre world. You know what? They put up signs. Andrew, you got to stop looking at your phone when you're walking around convention centers, man.
I mean, I just go, man. I don't think of where I'm going. I just go. But yeah, I mean, in our gaming group, I do have a notorious thing of Andrew dice where
you do, yeah.
My dice go south very often, but I mean, it's just the way it is.
If your dice have ever gone south, Andrew probably touched them.
I'm probably the reason behind that. Yeah. But yeah, so like, I'm not going to talk about my first game because it was just really bad dice. It's a dice game. Sometimes it can just go south, and that's the way it is. Yeah. And I mean, I probably made tactical errors as well, but it's hard to equate them when everything else is going wrong.
Right. It's hard to see through the woods of that madness when all you're getting is ones.
Exactly. So then, like, where I essentially made a mistake was in my third game. In my third game, I was going against a Space Wolf. Well, he was a Space Wolf and comm bike player.
Right.
So he was basically using I think it's called the Great Wolf Detachment, where it's basically you take a wolf and a bunch of elites, and those elites can be independent characters, so you can literally just have a formation that's like 7 independent characters.
Yeah.
And then he had like 5 comm bike units and like a Sakaran tank and stuff. So it was basically just joining a wolf guy to each bike squad
to absorb those shots at the front. Yeah. Basically make them tanky as hell.
Giving them that 2+ armor save and lookout sirs to guys and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was a tough, essentially like army of mini stars all over the place.
Yeah. We like to call it the Big Dipper, right? Because of all the stars and it's going to catch on. It's going to catch on. Big Dipper.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Yeah, so I was going against this army, and I basically was just, I played really dumb. Like, in the same essence of Jay with regards to reserving was part of my problem, because I had, basically what I was running was a Storm Surge in a CAD with some Crisis Suits and a Commander, and then 3 units of Sniper Drones.
Hey!
Because you know me and Sniper Drones.
Love those Frisbees.
But then I was also running the Ghost Keel formation. And the reason I was using this, the Ghost Keel wing, specifically.
Yeah, be specific, not OSC.
Not the optimized stealth cadre, the Ghost Keel wing. And the reason I was using the Ghost Keel wing is because they have this cool rule that gives a bubble of stealth to all of your units, and if they already have stealth, they get shrouded.
Which those Frisbees.
Which means that
sneaky as
Sniper
hell.
Drones already have stealth, which means they get shrouded, which means that they basically have 2 or 3 up cover in any cover. Mm-hmm. It's great. It makes the army crazy resilient. So there's a lot of firepower, but where my mistake was is I was forgetting that I was playing against bikes. Bikes specifically that had good assault units. What I should have done was not deployed my Ghost Keels at all. And that sounds like it's bad because I'm not passing the special bonuses to my guys.
Right.
But I'm going against a bike army. An army that specifically either doesn't ignore my armor very often, or when it does, a 3+ or 4+ save is going to be enough anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's not enough shots. Even if you're shooting grav at me, my Frisbees only have a 4+ armor save, which means he's only going to wound with half of them.
Exactly.
So it was like, what I should have done was I should have had them in reserve. I should have had everything else to one side because he went first.
Right, so you're forcing him to move his whole army down the field because he's already deployed.
Yeah, exactly. So he's already there. I'm just like, I might as well just funnel him into one direction. What do I care if I'm in the open or not? I basically just stuck to the only cover that was there way too hard, and it made a giant roadblock of line of sight blocking cover in the center of my line of fire. So like, I was like, great. All my things that have 48-inch range now basically can't shoot anything
They'll
beyond
have
24
like
inches.
10-inch range.
Yeah, it was just like, so his entire army was on me before I could bring my full arms to bear. And that just, I mean, that sealed the deal. Like, everything was in one corner. He could completely surround me. And by the time he was there, I couldn't get through them fast enough.
Right. And I mean, they just crush in close combat.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm Tau, so I'm going to
you
lose
have
in close
even
combat.
more of a handicap.
But yeah, so like that, and Ghost Kills are actually surprisingly decent in close combat. But essentially, my Seize of the month was just bad deployment. I did not pay attention to where my opponent was at all, and then I deployed my army all wrong and basically lost the game at turn 1.
Wow.
I mean, that's my Seize. Bad choice.
Jeez. Well, 2 things we both got out of LVO is deployment. I mean, it's something that I think not a lot of people think about, but it is a huge impact on the game.
Yeah, and I mean, especially for you and I that coming from 5th, where we played like the most, was like we were so heavy alpha or beta strike that like we just didn't think about it. And now we really got to think about it.
Who knows if we'll learn from our mistakes? We usually don't. It's why we still have the show. Guys, those were our Seasons of the Month, and that'll take us to the Brown Library. All right, it feels good, after getting such a whooping to come back to the library and just kind of kick up your feet and
not be
relax.
Getting chased by things.
Yeah, I mean, we get chased by things in this library,
but not every 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
Every 10 minutes.
That's true. Also, this probably feels very homey to you because, as we said, you spent half of your convention time in a bizarro world.
I mean, I was unaware of it.
Like when the people looked like squid monsters, that was not a dead giveaway.
I mean, do you not see them as squid monsters like all the time?
We have a lot of things to talk about. But before that...
Do I not look like a squid monster?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. That space dust is really having some long-lasting effects on you, isn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, no. All right. I'm going to get you some ointment. But, guys, we're going to be getting into our Brown Library segment, which every month we crack open some ancient tome we find here in the Brown Library and get a little bit more info on the fluffier units that you don't really see out there in the Warhammer space and give them their time in the sun. Give them a list that is usually pretty insane and always very competitive. I mean, any list that we've ever done on the show, you can take to tournaments and win. We don't, because we don't want to be unfair to everybody out there.
I mean, obviously.
Guys, Rough Riders. Just make an army of Rough Riders. Somebody please do it. Anyways, Andrew, what is our army or our unit, I guess, for this episode?
So we're doing something a little different this time.
Ooh.
I think from now on we'll be mixing it up where we'll be doing like every other month will be like a pure themed army, and then like every other month will be like a specifically voted on unit focused army.
Sounds fun. Oh, and that reminds me, a lot of times what we do is based on votes from dakadaka.com, so you can find that poll there.
Or if you have a cool idea for a themed army, like one was just mentioned recently by one of our fans of an angelic themed demon army.
That sounds awesome.
May or may not be happening soon to come.
Well, yeah, and if you guys have ideas for something cool like that, just shoot us an email. rolltheseas@gmail.com. We'll check those out.
That or you can private message me on the forums or just reply on the forums and we'll catch it.
Absolutely.
So this month we're bringing back an old friend.
Ooh.
Chaos Space Marines.
Oh, Chaos Space Marines.
Like, they don't get voted on, like, every time.
They bring us a lot of joy. It's a very popular army. Everybody thinks Chaos Space Marines is very well balanced.
Super polished
very
codex.
strong codex.
So yeah, so there's definitely an abundance of things in there that could use some work.
A little help.
Little nudge. But this month, actually, we're gonna stay Nurgle focused.
Ooh.
So the two units that we're specifically focusing on this month is an aspect, I guess you'd call them an aspect.
Sure.
Of the Chaos Forces, essentially, the Marines specifically, for Nurgle, called Plague Marines.
Okay.
We're also focusing on a unit that I don't think I've ever seen in a single game.
Oh.
You know Obliterators, right?
I do know Obliterators.
So these are the melee version of Obliterators.
What?
They're called Mutilators.
Okay, wait, I have heard about them, and yes, I never see them.
Never
ever.
see them ever. There are reasons.
Probably because they're melee versions of a much better unit.
I mean, yeah, it's not like the regular Obliterators don't have melee as well,
Yeah.
so it's kind of just like,
You don't often see melee versions of something that's probably pretty decent as a shooty unit.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
probably a reason why you don't see as many Wraith Blades out there. Occasionally you see D-Scythes or Wraith Guard, but I've never seen Wraith Blades on the table.
Now, we did see a lot of them when they first came out in 6th edition.
Yeah, and then people were like, why would I take these guys with axes? Why would I do that?
But yeah, so we'll focus on Plague Marines first. So Plague Marines were huge in 4th and 5th edition. Like, that was like the heyday of the Chaos Space Marine Codex. Yeah. And they were
Feel no
like,
pain, T5, durable.
Like, they were the epitome of tank unit in those editions, because like strength 10 and D basically was nowhere except for like Tau railguns.
Yeah, very rare would you see strength 10.
Or like a Power Claw war boss or something like that, Orc war boss. Like, it just didn't exist. So these guys were just like 3+ save, 5+ feel no pain, 5 toughness. It was 4+ feel no pain back then.
Oh, that's right.
They were just
old school feel no pain.
They were so hard to get rid of.
God, yeah, that's really bad.
But in this edition, with this codex, they've gone significantly up in point cost, so they're actually very expensive now.
Oh.
And
well, what they found, those packs that are always bloated with guts and stuff, there's actually gold in there. It's just filled with gold.
I mean, I don't know if I want to touch that gold anyway.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I mean, you definitely shouldn't touch that gold.
It's a trap.
Yeah, they're like a leprechaun track. They're all walking around trying to trick leprechauns.
They are green. Did we just discover something about Plague Marines?
Together.
But yeah, so like they still have the same deal. They still are fearless, 5+ feel no pain, toughness 5, 3+ armor save. Like,
yeah.
They're still almost as well, except for the 4+ feel no pain. They're still almost as durable as they used to be.
Yeah.
They're a little bit more expensive, sure, but as far as like an objective holding unit is going, like,
they're tough.
Holy crap! Especially when they're OBSEC, like. Have fun getting rid of that. I mean, it's toughness 5 Space Marines with feel no pain. Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, even the toughest close combat units that are getting in with those guys is just like an endless slap fight, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, and I mean, they can actually do work in close combat, too.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, they don't need to increase their numbers in their units to take special weapons, so you can just take the stock 5 and then take double melta guns and stuff like that.
Jeez.
So they're real nasty. But their background, essentially, Plague Marines they're formerly of the Death Guard. It was a chapter of Space Marines during the Horus Heresy that fell to the powers of chaos.
Oh.
Essentially all got infected with Nurgle's rot and then went mad, and like their bodies fused with their armor, and they're like one and the same now. And
yeah, they're like basically they're walking garbage cans, like quite literally.
Yeah, basically they're literally compost heaps that walk around.
It's an Oscar the Grouch army.
Yes.
That's cool.
Somebody needs to model garbage cans with arms and legs.
It's just a bunch of Plague Marines.
It's just a bunch of Plague Marines.
Wow. Is Oscar the Grouch Nurgle? Is that what happened to him? Is that what
Is
happened between...
Is Sesame Street secretly Chaos Gods?
Guys, what
is
other...
Big Bird Zench?
Oh my god, holy shit. Whoa.
Oh my god, Animal is corn.
Holy crap. How did we come... Wait, Animal's Muppets.
Same thing.
Oh, you know who it is? It's Elmo. Elmo's corn.
Oh, Elmo, yeah.
Elmo falls to the dark side. Wow, guys, we have to go kill Big Bird, Elmo, and Oscar the Grouch to prevent the apocalypse, obviously.
Don't seriously go kill them.
And is Ernie Slanesh from Bert and Ernie?
Oh, God.
Bert dies and Ernie just falls from grace.
No, it's obvious that Cookie Monster is Slanesh.
Yeah, that's true.
Cookie Monster is pure pleasure.
Oh, my God. The Chaos Lords are alive and well now, guys. We've got to figure out a battle plan. But in the meantime, back to what you were saying.
So I'll explain Nurgle's rot. Nurgle's rot is it's a really fucked up disease. So it's like ultra leprosy.
Oh,
Like, it makes you...
leprosy did not need an ultra version of itself.
No, it makes you decay slowly. You don't feel pain anymore, which is why they have feel no pain. Like, you cannot sense pain anymore.
Yeah, your nerves just go first.
Your body is slowly dying, but being regenerated at the same time. So it's like the ultimate slow death. It's keeping you alive, but in permanent misery.
That's horrible.
Well, the idea is that if they...
Why am I surprised?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
It's Warhammer 40k and also Chaos Warhammer
Yeah.
40k.
The idea is that if they resist it long enough, if they don't succumb to it, then they will be elevated to demonhood, which, I mean...
Interesting.
It's
How do you resist decaying faster?
I don't know. It's a Schrodinger's cat problem.
What's the exercise regimen of not decaying?
You got me, man.
A lot of lean meats, get out in the sun once in a while. Not too long, you will melt yourself, but, just long enough.
That's essentially Plague Marines in a nutshell. They're just...
A sad, sad life.
They're just devoted disciples to Grandfather Nurgle, man, just constantly undying. But then, like, their patriarch, their captain, named Typhus.
Yeah, Typhus is like the pope of the Nurgle people, right?
Yeah. Now, he did something that was really brave, albeit for, like, the wrong reasons.
Sure.
But
that's the definition of Warhammer 40k.
Yeah.
But go on.
So, like, the Death Guard were essentially getting annihilated by this plague called the Destroyer Plague. Now, it's like... it's like a hive, sort of. It's like microscopic things that just like break your body down to nothing.
Ugh.
And they're all dying from it. And then Typhus decided that he was going to become host to it. And so he took like all of the Destroyer Swarm into himself. And now he is the host body for the Destroyer Swarm. Like,
Whoa.
He's fused with his armor and like literally has like sprouted tubes that like they come in and out of. He literally has like, imagine like a microscopic super death beehive.
I was going to say, he's like a walking bee man.
He's like the guy from Ninja Scroll, if you've seen that.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, deep cut on Ninja Scroll. There we go.
But yeah, so like that's what he's essentially like, and like Destroyer Hive is like terrible. It's like it's just awful. Like it just destroys you in like seconds. Like you're just gone.
Unless you're Typhus.
Unless
you
you're
can hold
Typhus,
that
and then-
shit in.
Ooh.
Do you think there's like a honey business that Typhus runs?
Is his real name Winnie?
Wow. Wow. A lot of childhood characters turning out to actually be horrible demons. Ooh.
I mean, isn't that the root of all childhood characters?
Ooh, this is destroying way too much childhood. We gotta move on.
All right, so that's basically the Death Guard in a nutshell and all of the Nurgle stuff. And Typhus actually also caused something new in the galaxy, which is the zombie apocalypse. Like,
Oh, good.
He's literally spawned a plague through Papa Nurgle that reanimates corpses.
He was probably sitting around going like, wait, the zombie apocalypse hasn't happened yet? Everything is terrible. The zombie apocalypse, you know what? I'm going to make it happen.
It was like, there's literally like 1 million dead bodies on this battlefield. You're all zombies now.
Somebody had to do it eventually. Good thing that he did.
And that's actually playable in the game. Like that's
Wait,
one
you can
of
play
his,
zombies?
Yeah, one of his rules is that you can turn Chaos Cultists into zombies. For no
What?
point cost, they lose all their weapons except a club. They become...
They find a club.
Yeah,
Oh, look, a club.
or like a limb. I mean...
Oh, yeah, that makes more sense. They just rip off, I don't need this arm, and they just hit people.
And then they hit people with it, but they gain fearless and...
Do you think because they do that, they lose 2-weapon fighting? Because one of them is in their other hand. Go on.
So they gain fearless, they gain feel no pain, and I think they gain fear as well.
That makes sense. All of those rules make sense.
And they're literally a zombie horde.
Wow.
I mean, you can just stick Typhus in the middle of them and just like tank wounds for days. I mean,
you are my body shields now.
and then he has a rule, I mean, that he can do in close combat, that he at one time per game in close combat, he can just center a large blast on himself that's strength 4 AP2. It's him unleashing the Destroyer Hive, and it hits everybody, including allies. And like, what better sacrifices than having a bunch of fucking undead?
I don't need you zombies anymore.
But yeah, so like that's essentially like the core of the army. Is
That's
a bunch
pretty fun.
bunch of zombies, Chaos Lord,
and
Typhus,
and potentially a B-man.
and then he's just a beekeeper. He's just trying to sell
leave him alone.
delicious honey. But then it's basically rounded out with 3 units now. Mutilators, getting back to them.
Yeah.
Mutilators can only be taken in units of 3, which is
Only
unfortunate.
in 3?
Only in 3.
They have an actual specific limitation on that?
Like they can only be 3 models.
Wow.
No, I mean like they start as 1 model.
Oh, okay. Oh, you can take a single unit of one guy?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you can do the same thing with obliterators.
Oh, right. I guess you can. I never think about that just because I'm always used to just units being at least 3 guys.
I also don't see them anymore, really.
Right.
Of either.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, like...
You're telling me Chaos Space Marines is not the primary meta we see day in and day out?
Yeah.
I think we disagree.
But yeah, so like Mutilators they're interesting. When you give them the Mark of Nurgle, which I do, because it's a Nurgle theme army, it also makes them T5. Which
Right.
is valuable when it's a 2-wound Terminator with T5.
Hey, 2 wounds. That's not bad.
That's pretty tanky.
And a 5+ feel no pain if you give them the mark.
No, the Mark does not give them feel no pain.
Ooh.
The Mark for Chaos Space Marines only gives them T5.
Oh, okay.
It just ups their toughness by 1. So
So
if
that
they
makes
don't
them a little
have-
more durable. That's not bad.
I mean, it's still a 2+ save with 2 wounds, a 5+ invulnerable save, and their T5. Like, that's still very tough.
yeah.
But their rules are a little contradictory. They're a melee-only unit, but they can't move further than 6 inches.
Okay.
They can deep strike.
So they can't even run.
I may be wrong with this. They're slow and purposeful. They can run, but they can't sweep as a purely melee unit, which is odd.
Yeah.
And-
why are they slow and purposeful? Like, I get it with obliterators, but they're slow and purposeful because their
Reasons?
dumb claws are so big.
I don't know.
Sure.
But at least they have deep strike, so they can like get into the backfield and like force you to make choices. You basically have like Typhus and his buddy going straight up with all the Plague Marines, and then them deploying the back and pincer move essentially.
Right, yeah.
And that's one thing that's actually pretty good about this army with regards to just being able to capture is that it's all hard targets. Like there's nothing in the army that's easy to get rid of.
Yeah, you can't push anything off an objective very easily
No.
when most of your army is T5 or
It's
all of it.
2 units of 20. It's 40 obsec zombies.
God.
With a lord in one and Typhus in the other.
Wow.
And then 4 units of Plague Marines and Rhinos, and they're OPSEC.
Jeez.
And then the 3 units of Mutilators. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just like, well, I'll shoot the, yeah, I guess.
Everything is tough. Everything is tough to kill. Everything is made of garbage, and this is going to go poorly.
But if the Mutilators get into close combat, they're going to do a lot of work. First of all, basically every weapon they have has low AP. Like,
Oh, really?
The only one that doesn't is they can take, because they can basically get access to a pair of any melee weapon that Chaos Space Marines have access to.
Oh, so the Mutilators, just like the Obliterators, can change their weapons. Mutilators, I thought they just had like just standard weird claws. They can
literally
adjust them.
they can change them into whatever they need.
Oh, see, that's kind of cool.
So like the only one that doesn't have low AP, it's still AP4, is like Power Mauls, which will give them AP4 and +2 to strength, and they're strength 4 base.
Wow.
And the reason those are actually useful is because then you'll be striking at I4 and they have concussive, so you can knock things down. But
pretty cool.
if you're going against a bunch of knights or vehicles, you can get freaking chain fists, which I mean, it's double strength plus armor bane. I mean, like,
Wow.
good luck surviving that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And since it's a pair of them, they'll all have 4 attacks on the charge. So it's just
Wow.
like, yeah, I mean, like a vehicle's not going to survive that. You better hope that if you're going against a knight, that he kills all 3, and it's just 1 unit charging the knight. Because if he doesn't kill all 3, it's dead. Like, it just doesn't survive that.
Yeah.
They can also get a weapon that's actually great for killing like things like bikes or marines or scat bikes or standard infantry unit. They can get a pair of lightning claws. Which
Oh, geez.
Their lightning claws are AP3 and they have shred, which means that they're just
Whoa.
gonna go boom, 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 boom,
Yeah,
boom,
yeah,
boom,
they're
boom.
gonna run right through that unit.
Now, most of the time, because they don't have things like frag grenades and stuff like that, you're going to be wanting to run them with power fists anyway, just because, like...
Why not? You're striking potentially at the end of combat anyway.
Yeah, you're striking at the end of the combat. It makes it AP2. You're also double strength. Like, why not take it? But if, like, you get the chance to strike at initiative and you're faster than them or equal to them and you don't want to suffer casualties before you fight, throw on a pair of lightning claws and just go to town.
Now, can they choose their weapon, change it throughout the game, or do you have to equip them with a specific one at the time?
No, so they can't choose the same weapon twice in a row. They choose at the fight subphase.
See, so that's really cool. So then based on what that fight needs and what it is designated as, then they pick the one that's appropriate.
Exactly. So
That's
it's like,
awesome.
oh, they go into a vehicle and they say it's a transport. They pull out chain fists and rip apart the vehicle. Then all the transport guys come out and then they throw out lightning claws.
And
And
they're
then
just cutting those dudes up.
So, like, they can do work, but they're obviously, like in most things in 7th edition, their greatest limitation is their speed.
Yeah.
At least they have good toughness and resilience to
And the
make
deep
up
strike,
for that.
too.
And deep strike, so they can go right into the backfield. I mean, honestly, even
Oh,
just
wow.
thinking about them in LVO, like if you had them in LVO, like if I was just even going against drop pod marines, like you could just have them honestly on like slight marine unit cleanup and pod cleanup, and like
Yeah.
each time they charge a pod, the pod's gone. Like it
That's
just
true.
doesn't live.
Chain fists and that thing's out.
12 auto hit attacks on chain fist. Like you auto kill every pod that you touch. So you could even multi-charge and have one guy go for a pod, the pod's dead, and then the other two go for the marine squad, and likely all the marines are dead. So
Wow.
like they're actually usable. They're not terrible. Now, granted, with Mark of Nurgle, they are over 60 points apiece.
Woo.
So they're not cheap, but when you take that in relation to essentially like it's a double Terminator, a double Terminator would be, now Terminators aren't great in this meta.
They're not.
But that would still be like 80 points just for base level Terminator, 60 points for a 2-wound T5 model with a 2+ save and a 5+ invulnerable save, and then access to every power weapon imaginable is not bad.
It's not, no.
I forgot to mention this for like things like monstrous creatures, like even something like a Wraith Knight. Like if 2 units get into combat with a Wraith Knight, I think the Knight's just gonna die. Like they're
As long as that knight doesn't have a D weapon, yeah.
I mean, but even if he has a D weapon, he's got 4 attacks. He's only weapon skill 4, so he kills 2 guys. And say it's 2 units charging him, that's 4 guys with 16 attacks that are strength 8, AP2. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, that could go badly.
It's a good point.
So this was a different thing where it wasn't just take as much as we could of something.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't always
Because
work.
we couldn't. We had limits.
No, but
I'm
like
kidding.
I could. I mean, you couldn't. I decided not to go double CAD, to just have a really themed, just
Yeah.
as I call the army, Zombacalypse army.
Zombacalypse. And as we now know, it is headed by apparently puppets. Terrifying.
Yeah.
Scary. Wow. All right, guys. Well, that was episode 20 of Roll to Seize. We'll be posting a new episode every month. And if you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. You can email us any questions at rolltoseize@gmail.com or even recommendations for our Brown Library segment. Of course, you can always follow us on Twitter and Instagram for tournament and model picks at partialarc. Thanks for listening, and your fun fact for this month is...
Ironically, being like Nurgle is like strangely beneficial because they literally give you an infinite lifespan.
That's
Like,
true.
If you want immortality, like Typhus has been around for 10,000 years.
Want to see the universe? Travel to fun and exotic places? Nurgle Rot!
And never have to think about pain again. You can never be hurt.
You know what, guys?
Emotionally
Sign
or
me up.
physically.
You can never be hurt emotionally or physically.